2,000 years ago, one city on 7 hills ruled a quarter of the human race. They built roads that are still in use today. They crucified tens of thousands in a single afternoon for sport. They turned slaves into millionaires and emperors into gods. And then, in just a few generations, the most powerful empire the world had ever seen vanished. At its height, Rome controlled 5 million square kilometers. More than 70 million people paid taxes to a single man who could wake up one morning and decide whether you lived or died. They had apartment buildings 8 stories tall, fast food restaurants, indoor plumbing, and a welfare system that fed 300,000 poor citizens for free every single day while their armies marched. But here's what almost no one understands. Rome didn't fall because of barbarians at the gates. It fell from the inside, poisoned by the very things that made it unstoppable. Unlimited power, unlimited money, and unlimited belief that they were invincible. How did a muddy village on the Tiber become the greatest empire in history, and then tear itself apart in an orgy of civil war, madness, and decadence that makes our modern scandals look like a school play? With artillery that could hurl 60-pound stones half a kilometer.
The beginning of Rome is wrapped in one of the most famous legends from ancient times. According to this story, Rome was founded in 753 BC by twin brothers, Romulus and Remus. Their mother, Rhea Silvia, was the daughter of King Numitor of Alba Longa. The legend says that the god of war, Mars, was the father of the twins. But the moment the babies were born, danger followed. King Numitor's younger brother, the man who had stolen the throne, feared that one day the boys might grow up and challenge him. So he ordered that the newborns be thrown into the river Tiber and drowned. But destiny had other plans. The river carried the babies safely to the banks near Palatine Hill, where, according to legend, a female wolf found them and nursed them. Soon after, a shepherd named Faustulus discovered the twins and, along with his wife, raised them as his own. As the boys grew, Romulus and Remus became strong, fearless leaders among the shepherd warriors. Eventually, they learned the truth about where they came from, returned to Alba Longa, defeated their great-uncle, and restored their grandfather to the throne. After this victory, the twins decided to build a new city right near the place where the wolf had once saved them. But they disagreed on the exact location. The argument turned violent, and Romulus killed Remus. Romulus then built the city alone, and named it Rome, after himself. But there was one huge problem. There were no women in the new city. So to grow the population, Romulus invited the neighboring Sabines to a festival, and kidnapped the Sabine women. This led to a war, but in a dramatic twist, the kidnapped women themselves stopped both sides and demanded peace. After that, the Romans and the Sabines united, and for a while Romulus ruled together with the Sabine king Titus Tatius. When Titus Tatius died, Romulus became the only king again. After Romulus, 6 more kings ruled Rome, and then Rome eventually became a republic. Now, here's the important part. Historians don't think the legend is literally true. There's evidence of early settlements from that time, but no proof that Romulus and Remus were real people. Most experts believe the story symbolizes themes like rivalry, destiny, and the harsh beginnings of a new society. The version where Romulus kills Remus might reflect early political conflicts rather than an actual murder. There are also other theories, for example. Some Greek writers claimed that a Greek man named Evander founded Rome. Another story says Rome was founded by Romos, the son of Odysseus and Circe, which links Rome to Greece. Later, when Rome and Greece became rivals, Romans preferred the Romulus and Remus story instead of one that connected them to Greece. Another popular belief says that Rome was founded by Aeneas, a Trojan prince who fled the fall of Troy, a story made famous by the poet Virgil in the Aeneid. Some even claimed that Julius Caesar and Emperor Augustus were descendants of Aeneas. So what's the truth? The real origin of Rome is a mix of history and mythology. We still don't know which version is completely true. But the legend of Romulus and Remus remains one of the most iconic founding stories in the world.
To turn Rome into an empire, millions of people gave their lives, and millions worked hard. Roman civilization spread across 3 continents. There, the Romans created many wonders, huge buildings, a rich culture, and unmatched bravery. But when we ask who laid the foundation of Rome, things become complicated. Its oldest history is lost. In 390 BC, a tribe called the Gauls attacked Rome and burned the city's ancient records. Because of that, we cannot fully know how Rome began. So, to understand the early history of Rome, we mostly depend on legends and stories, not written facts. In this video, we're going to take a full tour of Rome's journey. What the Roman Empire actually was, how it grew so huge, how it became the center of the world, and yes, why it eventually fell apart. We'll go from a tiny town on the Tiber River to a superpower that controlled millions of people across 3 continents, and then suddenly disappeared. How does something that big just collapse? We're going to find out. And here's the coolest part. Even though Rome is long gone, it never really left us. Rome gave the world so many things we still use today. Republics and voting, languages like Italian, French, Spanish, and even half of English words. Crazy good architecture, arches, domes, stadiums, roads, legal rights, citizenship, law courts, plumbing, sewage systems, libraries, public baths. And honestly, the list never ends. So yeah, Rome fell, but it also kind of lives everywhere around us. All right, let's jump in and see how the greatest empire in history rose, ruled, and ruined itself. According to archaeological evidence, the story of Rome begins around 625 BC. In those early days, Rome was nothing more than a small trading settlement beside the Tiber River, a quiet stop for merchants, surrounded by forests and scattered villages. But slowly, that quiet settlement began to grow. Back then, the land was known as Etruria and Latium. People lived separately in small villages, but constant threats from outside forces pushed them to unite. And from that unity, the first sparks of Rome were born. Between 600 BC and 510 BC, Rome entered what history calls the period of kings. But unlike many ancient societies, kingship in Rome was not inherited. A body known as the Senate selected who would rule. Power did not pass simply from father to son. 7 kings ruled during this era, and the last of them, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, remembered as Tarquinius the Proud, would change Rome's destiny forever. Historians describe him as a harsh and tyrannical ruler, and soon, his cruelty brought disaster to his own throne. One day, shocking news shook Rome. Superbus's son was accused of assaulting a noblewoman named Lucretia. The outrage spread like fire across the city. Voices rose, anger erupted, and soon the people, nobles and common citizens alike, stood united. Superbus was overthrown, and in 509 BC, the Age of Kings ended, and the Roman Republic was born. A new government formed, again called the Senate, but now it was divided into 2 groups. Patricians, families of great wealth and influence. Plebeians, the representatives of the common people. Together, they elected 2 leaders, known as consuls, to rule Rome. But power was rarely equal. The patricians often dominated the government, and conflict between the social classes became a regular part of Roman politics. Yet through all the tension, Rome grew. By 338 BC, Roman territory stretched across the entire Italian peninsula. Wars came and went. The brutal attack of the Gauls in 390 BC nearly destroyed the city, but Rome rebuilt itself from the ashes. Under the leadership of the military hero Camillus, Rome eventually took full control of Italy. Then, from 264 to 146 BC, Rome entered a new era of battle, the legendary Punic Wars against the powerful North African Empire of Carthage. Carthage was feared across the Mediterranean, rich, skilled, and led by one of history's greatest generals, Hannibal. 3 wars were fought between the 2 civilizations, shaping the ancient world. And when the dust finally settled, Rome emerged victorious. It seized control of the Western Mediterranean, including Spain and Sicily, And in defeating Hannibal, Rome proved that it was no longer just a city, but a rising superpower. After conquering the West, Rome didn't slow down. It turned toward the East. And what happened next changed world history. Rome's first big challenge in the East was Macedonia. Yes, the same kingdom built by Alexander the Great, still strong even 200 years after his death. But Rome defeated Macedonia, and from that moment, Rome's rise became unstoppable. Rome didn't just win land and gold. Rome also absorbed cultures, and this changed Rome forever. If you ever travel to any Italian city today, look closely at the buildings. You'll notice Greek columns, Greek-style temples, even Greek gods and Roman monuments. Rome didn't destroy Greek culture. Rome copied it, polished it, and made it its own. Greek thinkers shaped Rome's brain. Roman soldiers shaped Rome's power. By 100 BC, Rome was no longer just a kingdom or a republic. Rome was the superpower of the ancient world. But greatness always has a price. As Rome got richer and bigger, the problems inside Rome exploded: political fights, assassinations, civil wars, corruption, leaders killed for helping the poor. Rome was becoming powerful on the outside, but broken on the inside. And whenever a country becomes unstable, someone always rises to take control. In Rome, that man was Julius Caesar. In 58 BC, Caesar was sent as governor to conquer the last remaining region of Gaul, what we call France, Belgium, Switzerland, and parts of Germany today. But the Gauls loved freedom more than life. They chose their greatest leader, Vercingetorix, and challenged Rome. This became the legendary Gallic Wars, 6 years of non-stop bloodshed. In 52 BC, Caesar surrounded the city of Alesia for months. People starved. The last survivors fought to death, and Caesar won. That victory made Caesar a hero, a superstar, in Rome. But there was a problem. The more people loved Caesar, the more the Roman Senate feared him. So the Senate ordered him, "Stop your wars, come back to Rome, and give up your army." And Caesar made a choice that shook the world. He refused. Instead, he joined hands with two powerful generals, Pompey Magnus, who was actually Caesar's son-in-law, Marcus Crassus, the richest man in Rome. Together, they formed the First Triumvirate, basically a private club that controlled the entire Roman Republic. For a while, these three men decided everything: laws, politics, wars, even public opinion. But power never stays friendly for long. Crassus got jealous of Caesar's fame and attacked the Parthian Empire to become a hero. He lost and died horribly. Some ancient sources claim molten gold was poured into his mouth as punishment for his hunger for wealth. With Crassus gone, the balance was broken. Now it was Caesar versus Pompey, father-in-law versus son-in-law, and Rome was forced to take sides. And this rivalry would ignite the most dangerous civil war Rome had ever seen. In 49 BC, everything changed. The Roman Senate warned Julius Caesar to return to Rome without his army. But Caesar wasn't the kind of man who backed down. He marched forward with his full army and crossed the Rubicon River, a river that separated Rome from the rest. Everyone knew, once you crossed the Rubicon with an army, there was no going back. And just like that, civil war began. Caesar versus the Senate and Pompey. For one whole year, Rome burned in war. Finally, in 48 BC, Caesar defeated Pompey in the Battle of Pharsalus. Pompey ran to Egypt hoping to get support, but the Egyptian King Ptolemy betrayed him and got him killed, just to impress Caesar. But that backfired. Caesar didn't like betrayal, even if it helped him. Now Rome was fully in Caesar's hands. Caesar declared himself dictator for life. And from 49 BC to 44 BC, he ruled Rome with full power. But here's the twist. Caesar wasn't just a tyrant. He built roads, buildings, public projects. He helped the poor, lowered taxes, and gave jobs. To many Romans, Caesar felt like a hero, almost a demigod. Some people even started worshiping him like a religious figure. A star that appeared in the sky after his death was called Caesar's Comet, and many Romans believed it was Caesar joining the gods. But not everyone loved him. A group inside the Senate wanted to bring back the Republic. Shockingly, two of Caesar's closest allies, Cassius and Brutus, turned against him. On March 15th, 44 BC, the Ides of March, Caesar walked into a Senate meeting. Brutus and the others surrounded him, pretending to show a petition. And suddenly, they attacked him. Caesar was stabbed 23 times. And when he saw Brutus, whom he loved like a son, Caesar said the famous words, "Et tu, Brute? You too, Brutus?" The assassins thought that killing Caesar would make them heroes. But they forgot one thing. Rome loved Caesar. The public turned against the Senate instantly, and Rome fell into another civil war. This is where Octavian, Caesar's young adopted grandnephew, entered the story. He teamed up with Mark Antony, Caesar's closest friend, and Lepidus, forming the Second Triumvirate. Together, they defeated the Senate in 42 BC at the Battle of Philippi. After victory, they divided the Roman world. Octavian ruled the West. Mark Antony ruled the East. Lepidus ruled North Africa. But power never stays calm. Soon Octavian pushed Lepidus out and controlled most of Rome. Antony, ruling the East, fell in love with Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt. Yes, the same Cleopatra who earlier had a relationship with Julius Caesar and even had a son with him. Seeing Antony and Cleopatra together, Octavian suspected a plan to take over Rome. So he started propaganda, telling Rome that Antony wanted to make Cleopatra the Queen of Rome. Rome got angry. Antony was declared traitor. War broke again. The final battle took place in 31 BC, the Battle of Actium. Octavian's navy crushed the forces of Antony and Cleopatra. The lovers escaped to Egypt, but Octavian chased them. Realizing the end had come, both Antony and Cleopatra died by suicide in 30 BC. After that, there was no rival left. Octavian became Rome's first emperor and took the name Augustus. This marked the beginning of the Roman Empire, and Augustus ruled for 41 years, a time known as Pax Romana, meaning Roman peace. Fun fact, during Pax Romana, Romans built more than 400,000 kilometers of roads, some of which are still used today. Before Augustus became emperor, Rome was always fighting wars or facing political problems. People were tired of the chaos. So when Augustus brought stability, the people loved him. Augustus was a very capable emperor. He stopped conflicts inside the empire, introduced many progressive laws, and focused on building architecture. These decisions made Augustus different from most other Roman emperors, because in history we see that many emperors were more interested in luxury than ruling properly. In 14 AD, Augustus died at the age of 75 due to natural causes. After his death, people started worshiping him as a god, and this belief continued until the end of the Roman Empire. Even the month August is named after Augustus. After Augustus, his adopted son Tiberius ruled for 22 years. Tiberius was the emperor during the time when Jesus Christ was crucified. When Tiberius died, his adopted son Caligula became the new emperor. Caligula is remembered as a cruel and mentally unstable ruler. He ordered the killing of many innocent people by accusing them of conspiracy. The Senate became furious with him. Caligula ruled for only 3 years, and in 41 AD, 2 guards killed him in an underground passage while he was going for lunch. No one knows who ordered Caligula's murder. After Caligula, his uncle Claudius became emperor. Claudius ruled for 13 years. He loved food, enjoyed luxury, and spent most of his time in pleasure. Among his many wives, one was Agrippina, who poisoned him so that her own son Nero could become emperor. The rule of Nero is considered one of the darkest periods in Roman history. Nero became emperor in 54 AD at the age of just 16. His actions shocked everyone. Nero first killed his own mother because she tried to control him too much. He then wasted the entire Roman treasury on luxuries, causing a huge financial crisis. Anyone who questioned him was killed. Biographer Suetonius writes that Nero committed many horrific acts, including incest, animal cruelty, and killing people without reason. Then one day, Nero allegedly set Rome on fire and blamed the Christians because Christianity was seen as a threat to the Roman Empire at that time. This incident gave rise to a famous phrase still used for dictators today: Nero fiddled while Rome burned. However, there is no solid proof that Nero did this, and the fiddle, violin, was actually invented centuries after Nero's death. So it is possible the story was created by his enemies to ruin his image. But what we do know for certain is that Rome did burn, and many people suffered. After this incident, patience with Nero finally ended. The governor of Spain, Servius Sulpicius Galba, challenged Nero for the throne. Seeing Galba gaining support, Nero understood that his rule was over. He ran away from Rome to save his life. The Senate declared Nero enemy of the state. To avoid getting caught and publicly executed, Nero committed suicide at the age of 30. Since Nero had no official children, the Julio-Claudian dynasty, which started from Augustus, ended with him. After Nero's death, the next year became known as the Year of the Four Emperors. The year was 69 AD. With the support of the Senate, Galba became emperor. But Galba wasn't very different from Nero. To benefit his corrupt friends, he stopped payments to the Roman army. This angered the soldiers and caused revolts again. The Roman legion in Lower Germany declared their general, Aulus Vitellius, as emperor. But before another civil war could start, Galba's own bodyguards, the Praetorian Guard, killed him. This was the second time in Roman history that a group of bodyguards killed their own emperor. Galba's assassination shocked Rome, and it proved one thing very clearly. Anyone could become emperor, and anyone could be killed. After Galba's death, the empire had no stability. People were tired, the army was angry, and the Senate was lost. And in this chaos, new power-hungry contenders rose immediately. One of the strongest candidates was General Aulus Vitellius, who already had the support of a large portion of the Roman army. But before he could reach Rome, the Senate quickly crowned another man, Otho, a well-known and influential senator. Ironically, Otho once supported Galba, but later turned against him. Still, Otho had a reputation for being peaceful, sensible, and fair, and Rome badly needed a leader like that. But the moment Otho came to power, he faced a huge challenge. Vitellius was marching toward Rome with his army and had no intention of stepping back. Otho wanted a peaceful solution. Vitellius wanted the throne at any cost. Soon a long and brutal war broke out. Otho's army fought bravely, but suffered a heavy defeat in the Battle of Bedriacum, where thousands of Roman soldiers died. When Otho heard about the massive loss of life, he stopped the war from his side. Historians believe he could have won if he had continued fighting. But Otho loved his soldiers more than power, and the emotional shock of so many deaths broke him. He died by suicide after ruling for just 3 months. Many historians say, if Rome had given Otho a chance, he might have become one of the finest emperors in Roman history. With Otho gone, Vitellius entered Rome with his army. His men looted the city, killed civilians, and assaulted women. Once again, the Senate surrendered and declared Vitellius the emperor. Vitellius declared himself supreme leader, ruled like a dictator, and tortured common people. Rome fell into darkness again. But Rome's suffering didn't last forever. A part of the Roman army rebelled and chose their commander Titus Flavius Vespasian as a new emperor. Another long war began, and this time, Vitellius was defeated. When he realized he was losing, he tried to escape, but he was caught, humiliated publicly, and killed. On December 22nd, 69 AD, the Senate finally declared Vespasian the new emperor. And with that, the long period of chaos ended. Vespasian brought peace, stability, and dignity back to Rome. He restored law and order, rebuilt the Senate's power, took care of both common people and the elite, and started the construction of the Colosseum, which still attracts millions of tourists today. Vespasian ruled for nearly 10 years. After him, his son Titus became emperor, the first biological son in Roman history to succeed his father. After Titus, his brother Domitian ruled, but he was assassinated too. And then began one of the greatest ages in Roman history, 96 AD to 192 AD, the era of the good emperors. During this period, Trajan was loved as the best emperor by the people. Rome became a 1 million population city. The empire reached its maximum size in history. A network of roads connected new regions. Many still shape Europe today. After the rule of Emperor Trajan, the next emperor Hadrian focused on strengthening the defenses of the Roman Empire. He built large forts in Britain and constructed the Pantheon in Rome. Inside the Pantheon, Hadrian even had paintings of his lover Antinous, and those paintings can still be seen today. The last emperor of the good emperors era was the philosopher Marcus Aurelius. He spent most of his time in military campaigns, and during the battles he wrote his famous Stoic philosophy book, Meditations. After Marcus Aurelius, his son Commodus became emperor, and this finally ended the period of Pax Romana, Roman peace. Commodus was more interested in gladiator fights than ruling the empire. Eventually, his enemies got him killed by a fighter and slave named Narcissus, who strangled him. With the death of Commodus, Rome once again fell into chaos. For the next 100 years, the Roman Empire was very unstable. During this time, more than 25 emperors came to power, and most of them were assassinated. Once, the Praetorian Guard even assassinated an emperor, and then auctioned the throne to the highest bidder. Some emperors ruled only for a few days or weeks, and in many cases the exact duration of their reign is still uncertain. The shortest reign on record was of Gordian II, who ruled for only about 22 days. In 285 AD, Emperor Diocletian realized the empire had become too big to manage, so he divided it into two parts, Western and Eastern Roman Empire. Each part was ruled by one emperor, and both were given the title Augustus. Below them, there were two junior emperors, each called Caesar. This system became known as the Tetrarchy. In 305 AD, Diocletian did something extremely rare. He gave up the throne voluntarily, becoming the first Roman emperor to retire. After that, his co-ruler Maximian, who ruled the Western Empire, also retired. Then Constantine, the son of the Western Caesar, was appointed the new emperor of the West and was given both the titles, Augustus and Caesar. But Maximian's son Maxentius also demanded the title of Caesar. This led to a war between Constantine and Maxentius. It is believed that before the war, Constantine saw a cross in the sky and felt it was a sign from God. He ordered his soldiers to paint the cross symbol on their flags and banners. Constantine won the war and Maxentius was killed. After the victory, Constantine accepted Christianity and made it the official religion of the empire. Constantine ruled until 337 AD, and after his death a power struggle began among his three sons, but none of them ruled for long. Then came the Valentinian dynasty starting in 363 AD, which was full of internal power struggles, assassinations, and unstable rule. In 392 AD, after the death of the Western Emperor Valentinian II, the Eastern Emperor Theodosius I reunited both East and West. But the united empire did not last long. A few years after Theodosius's death, his two sons caused the final division of the Roman Empire. Arcadius ruled the East, which later became the Byzantine Empire. Honorius ruled the West, whose fall was near. Gradually, the Greek-speaking Eastern Empire, Byzantine, became richer and better protected, while the Latin-speaking Western Empire sank into economic crisis and weakness. Seeing the weakness of the West and the strength of the East, many invaders targeted the Western Roman Empire. Germanic tribes such as the Goths attacked repeatedly, and the Vandals burned and destroyed Rome in 455 AD. By 476 AD, the Western Roman Empire had completely collapsed. Interestingly, the last Roman emperor was named Romulus, the same name as the first legendary king of Rome. Romulus was defeated by a Germanic general Odoacer, and he was sent into exile, where he spent the rest of his life. And with that, the Western Roman Empire came to an end. Rome didn't completely disappear in 476 AD. Only the Western Roman Empire collapsed. The Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, continued to exist, and it would survive for almost 1,000 more years. But that is a story for another video. And here, we close today's journey. From a small settlement on the banks of the Tiber River, to a kingdom of mighty emperors, to the most powerful civilization the world had ever seen. We watched Rome rise in glory, and we watched Rome fall under the weight of wars, betrayal, corruption, and time. Yet, even in its final moment, Rome did not vanish. Its ideas, its culture, its religion, its architecture, they continued to shape the world long after the empire itself fell. Thank you for traveling through history with me today. If you're ready for the next chapter, the story of the Byzantine Empire, stay tuned, because history never ends. It only changes its crown.